What about guys in terms of when, if they want to move to New York and give it a go, do you recommend that they go ahead and get their bachelor's?
Oh my God, yes.
And then should they go to a major market and do regional stuff, or should they go ahead and just jump in and do it? You know, they get their bachelor's degree and come on down. I mean, in your experience, what would be the best process?
Well, I would highly recommend, I mean, my process was so different and I got so lucky, even though we're saying, you know, luck isn't, whatever. But I would highly recommend going to a school that you know you're going to get a showcase. Because showcases in New York, you know, why do I feel like everybody from Michigan, they like go to Michigan and they come here and they have a showcase and have agents like pick them up like that. And that gives you a enormous lead on everybody else, because if you have an agent, then you can get into auditions and people look at you a little bit differently, and people look at you differently depending on what agency you're with. So it's like if you can land an amazing agent out of college, then you're pretty good. You know,
You think about it with the time wasted thing of like a school like Michigan, agents and casting directors know that if they go to their showcase, they're going to see good, talented people. That their time is not going to be wasted by going to some random, you know, hit or miss showcase. But I will say that, like, you know, there are amazing regional markets to do theater: Chicago, Minneapolis, Seattle. You know, there's also amazing theater that does happen in LA. When I was out there, I saw Venice that I thought there was like great musical theater that was also happening in other parts of the country. But New York is a very specific game. You know, if you want to do the work, if you want to work on Broadway, I mean, we both booked Broadway shows in other cities and moved here, but the real blanket statement is that if you want to work on Broadway, you should be in New York, you know? But you have to, it's a specific market, definitely.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Would we be imposing, I mean, because you guys do this all the time and go out and do these auditions and improv stuff, could you all create a scenario and do a scene for us?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We'd like to see that level of acting.
One?
Yeah.
Also, do your book.
Do you have your book? Well, we could do just like something like you would do like in a commercial, maybe, like where they'd be like, yeah, let's do, here, I'll give you the scenario of what I did yesterday in my commercial.
Yeah.
Okay, so pretend this is it. So she'll say, she's like, okay, so there's the camera. She's like, cheat up to the camera a little bit, and you are one of the salespeople. So you stand here, and I'm coming up and asking a technical question about the this stereo. And what you want to do is, it's a very simple question, and you just describe, you know, what you can help me with, and then sort of cheat out to the camera a little bit because it's going to be really tight.
Okay.
Cool. Hi.
Hey.
Hi, you work here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a question about this stereo. I just feel like, okay, I had this stereo before that had these different buttons, and this one's like a little bit different. I don't want to be lame, but how exactly does this work differently? And does the CDs read like?
Yeah.
You know when you like?
Yeah. Do you have batteries in it?
Yes.
Okay. So, do you have it? Okay. Back here is the button that like this is FM, this is AM, and then the
Okay.
CD.
Okay.
You want to make sure that it's locked onto CD.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. And, it happens all the time.
Okay. Good. I feel like you're telling me. Okay.
And then it'll work perfectly.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What was your name?
Morgan.
Morgan.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Have a great day.
That's it. Yeah, it's as simple as that, you know, and they're just, when they're casting for commercials, a lot of times they're just looking for like real people, you know, so.
When the audition for Hair was doing a commercial like a long time ago, and I remember their commercial prompt to you was just like look off at the camera and then see all of a sudden a bunch of people dancing on a roof in bright colors, and what would oh like, or, and it was like, now try it, and you're just like, you're like walking and you're like, you know, so were you going whoa yeah so it's just about, it's like following instinct.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so was that kind of what you were looking for? Okay.
I did a camera workshop one time where they made us. Have you seen the mouthwash commercials where they're just swooshing and that's all they're doing in the mirror?
Yeah.
That's what we had to do. And
Yeah.
It's hard though.
It's
That's
very
a very hard thing.
It's a
specific
weird thing. Yeah.
Because you're not like, you know, you're not splashing water on your like the L'Oreal commercials, and it's like. Yeah, it's a very specific thing that has to be real.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen this Dentine Ice commercial where the girl comes out of the subway, she like bumps into this guy and she comes out of the sub and she's like coming out of the or going into the subway, and then she like blows on the glass and then writes her cell phone number.
Yeah.
My boyfriend is the guy in that.
No way.
I have to say that because like commercials like I thought I was like, I'm just not meeting up. Yeah. That's so cool. I was like, when I first knew, I was like, oh my god, you're the Tenchi nice guy? It's really into him. Oh, Bryce is hot meter for sure. Any more questions?
Well, doing things like that, like commercials, is that more just things on the side, or do people make like, I know people make full careers out of commercials, but
Yeah.
do most people do commercials as kind of a side thing when they're not doing a show or a project?
I think they do. You can audition for commercials when you're doing a show. My boyfriend, for instance, worked as doing commercials for like 5 years and made a living off of doing commercials for like 5 years. But he also is, you know, he did hair and is playing Claude on the tour, so like he does both. We can all, everybody does, mostly everybody does everything or tries to do everything. Yeah, and you can if you're in a show during the
You can
day.
definitely make a lot more money in commercials
Mhm.
than you can in theater for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's all about like, it's all about like, you know, that's why I do music. I've always done music, but I'm really pursuing actual recorded music and pop music because that's, you know, that's a career that I want. But I just happen to be doing theater and met some people that sort of ushered me into where it is that I grew up. I grew up doing like singing gospel music and backup singing. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, so I grew up with music, and you know, I ended up on Broadway because I was studying theater and I was auditioning and I got an agent in Chicago and all these things happened. But I'm pursuing music as full-time as even more full-time right now than I am theater. But I'll go to theater, like I just did a thing at Barrington Stage Company in the Berkshires last week, and I'll like do theater, but I'll also still be like meeting with a producer to write a song or do something like that. Yeah.
So how hard is it connecting both of them and like living like, well, not like living two lives, but I mean, you know what I mean, in the sense of like doing music and also doing theater at the same time?
I find personally that I'm sometimes a little too pop for music theater, and then I'm also sometimes a little too music theater for pop. So I'm like, you know, I straddle the line anyways,
right.
But it's not hard, it's just who I am.
Okay.
It wouldn't make sense for me to not be doing music and doing theater.
Very cool.
Oh, I was going to say, it's funny what you said about juggling two lives, and for a lot of people, that's like, oh, I wish I was just juggling two. Because the truth is that the more things you have going on, I think in the long run, the better off you're going to be. Because, like as a writer, you know, I've got like 3 or 4 different projects that I'm juggling at different times, and they always have a bad habit of all coming, you know, everything happening with them all at once. But the more different things you have to keep you both creatively and financially sustained, the happier you're going to be in the long run. Because if you put all your faith in, I'm going to be on Broadway and that's all I want to do, when the show, that happens, but when you don't have a Broadway show to do, you're going to be like, now what do I do with myself? So the more different things you can have, not just entertainment, but the more outlets you can have for just developing yourself as a person, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
Like I do real estate also.
Right.
As long as you maintain excellence in all of them.
Yeah, or it's
I mean,
like,
because this is the cream of the crop for those people at our school that do all kinds of things. They're diverse in all areas, in academics and dance and sports and all of that, and they strive really hard to maintain excellence in every single one of them, sometimes to the detriment of their health. You know, so you've got to put a balance on all of it too.
Of course, and it's hard to, I think it's hard to balance, but that's also just what you learn as you go through. You might find, you know what, I'm doing 6 things right now, and maybe one of them isn't as important as the other 5, that's part of, I think, the process of developing as a professional. You learn where you want to have different things, but you do want to know where to put your focus and how much of your energy you can devote to that focus too.
But like you said, it's financially,
Right.
and you have to do multiple things in order to survive in New York.
It's New York.
Yeah, it's good for your sanity too.
And your insanity.
It seems like real estate and theater would be a huge, like 2 huge things to do at the same time versus like theater and commercials. Do you find, I was just curious if you find yourself...
Sometimes to the detriment of health, for sure. But, I mean, theater, when I was doing a show, like when I did Everyday Rapture, and that was a show that was in New York and it was at night, you know, I don't know what else besides auditioning, what would I do? You know, off-Broadway is not amazing money, it's not bad money, but I want more money. So I need to do more things in order to maximize the amount of money I can make in any moment. So real estate I can do during the day, or, you know, there's other associates I can pass things on to. It's a business. I can get referral fees. I can, you know, my whole family is in real estate, so I grew up always doing real estate. So I knew I wanted to get my real estate license anyways. And there's just an amazing market for real estate in New York that's like recession proof. So it's always going, but I can also be like, I'm going to work really hard in these spring months